Hello again. I've been thinking about doing this color wheel for a while now, and I'm really glad I tried it. The paints I'm using are light green, Scarlet Lake, and Cobalt Blue. I'll add the specific paint names and numbers in the video information if you want to try them out yourself. This color wheel is inspired by the RGB color model, which is well known for its use in screens. The biggest difference in using it with paint is that screens use light and I'm using pigments. Adding two lights together makes a color brighter and closer to white, whereas when I add pigments together, they get closer to black, or they can neutralize each other and get closer to gray. There's a lot of great resources that explain the science behind all of this, but in this video series, I'm focusing more on playing with the experience and application of color theory. I was a little nervous that this color wheel might be really challenging to work with. There's no yellow in this palette, so I was unsure if I would get away with how cool the green and red were. I was thinking this palette might just end up as a bunch of purple swatches. What I ended up with are some really nice warm browns and some beautiful wine-colored purples. The value range on this wheel looked very versatile, so I was happy to see that, and I thought I could work with this a little bit better after seeing the whole color wheel painted out. Despite not having yellow, this palette felt quite balanced. There wasn't one paint that seemed to overpower the other ones, and I could get very subtle warm browns just between the Scarlet Lake and the light green, so I wasn't so worried about not having yellow. And the photo I chose for my small painting is from a local conservation park. I like the contrast and the neutral tones in the bark. Right in the beginning of this painting, I could quickly get a lot of contrast with mixing Scarlet Lake and Cobalt Blue. The dark colors are still quite rich and saturated, so it didn't just seem all gray or all brown when I was doing the painting. One thing I did in my setup that is different is that I switched out my brush for the color wheel. I was using a smaller round brush, and I didn't like how patchy my swatches were getting. I had a hard time controlling the water content, and they would dry out halfway through. So in this setup, I'm using a larger flat square brush. This one might be slightly too big. It was a little hard to control the water, but it definitely makes the painting go a lot faster. I can cover a lot of ground on the page, and I can make some large shapes of color very quickly. I really enjoyed using these three paints for this painting. I definitely would consider using it out in the wild. It's a very limited palette, but it really does go a long way. And I think that's due to the fact that it has such a large value range that you can get from it. And you can still keep some beautiful saturated colors in the darks that you get from mixing them together. Although if yellow is really important in the painting, one thing I think I would try out is painting a bright yellow ground on paper and using this palette over it. I'm not too familiar with this technique, but that might be a way to get around not having yellow. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this color wheel and seeing how it came together in the painting. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, bye!